become the School of Computing and Information Technology. Now, we have started this journey all the way from 2003, when we were the first, more or less the first program to be launched in terms of the degree programs in Strathmore University. So we started with the Bachelor of Business Information Technology. Then a few years later, we moved into higher kind of training. So we went into Master of Science in Information Technology, and then of course we also started the PhD program in Information Technology. Then specializing further in terms of going into this space of technology, we started other programs, which is the Bachelor of Science in Informatics and then Bachelor of Science in Telecommunication. Actually, these two, the Bachelor of Telecommunication, the idea was actually to be a precursor to what we are actually celebrating today. And then, of course, we have advanced in terms of what we have been offering in the field of technology. So we started the program of mobile telecommunication and innovation, which has been very successful in terms of with partnership with Safaricom. And then over the years, we have, of course, tried to re-engineer ourselves. We basically did a reinvention in terms of the kind of informatics that we were providing. So in 2015, we came up with the Bachelor of Informatics and Computer Science. So all this journey in terms of the field of technology has, over the years, made us to be renowned in this kind of, in this field, where our graduates now are widely sourced for. And then that explains why we have, each year we have been having a keen interest in terms of the number of students interested in joining us and so on. But then what has been a bottleneck is to expand into all the other areas of technology where we can be able to give them the different other specializations that we need. And this is what the university management has felt fit, that then we need to move from not just the computing or what we commonly call as the software engineering, but then we would like to now move to other areas like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and civil engineering, so that then this creation of this new outfit, and I think you have already seen the setup that we have done, the facilities that we have invested in, to ensure that then we now offer a quality education, these other areas that traditionally we have not been offering in the university, but then we would like to offer it with our strength, which has been always in computing. So this is going to be the new programs that we are going to launch are going to be unique in that we want to go into a modern way of offering the engineering programs, so that then we can be able to come up with manpower which is more qualified for the industry. Now, our plan more or less is this year we have launched 2 programs, so the PhD in Computer Science and the Bachelor of Science in Networks and Cybersecurity, which is a hot area right now. And then next year, as of course, what is the main thing that we are trying to launch today is that we want to move into electrical and electronics engineering. That is the first engineering program that we will start. And then after that, in 3 years or 5 years later, then we would like to venture into mechanical engineering, civil engineering, so that then now we complete almost the full cycle before we go into things like biomechanical engineering, and so on. So this day is really very important to us in terms of the growth not only of the university, but also the growth of the Kenyan sector in terms of providing the required manpower to be able to serve the various aspects that are strategic to our country. So once again, I will say that welcome to Strathmore, and we feel honored that you have actually graced the occasion, and we look forward to be able to achieve the very best in terms of offering the courses and also doing research in these aspects of computing and engineering sciences. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Orero, the Dean of the Faculty of Information Technology, FIT. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite the DVC Academic and Student Affairs to make her remarks, and thereafter invite the Vice Chancellor to address us. Thank you.
The Principal Secretary, Ministry of Energy, Dr. Engineer Joseph K. Njoroge, members of the Strathmore University Council who are with us here or watching virtually, members of the Strathmore Management Board, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, those here physically present, and also those joining us virtually, a very warm welcome. So, karibuni sana. Since its inception, Strathmore University has carved out a very specific niche, which has informed the development and delivery of all its programs. All Strathmore programs integrate the necessary skills and competencies for the formation of well-rounded professionals. Yeah? So we seek to educate leaders who are well-rounded and holistic. We ensure that those students that we educate eventually become ethical leaders capable of contributing to social development through their service to society, which is basically what's included in our mission. Among those necessary skills that we try to inculcate in our students is innovation and entrepreneurship. And for those two, as you well know, technology is key. So technology is and continues to be one of the strengths of Strathmore University. From the very start, Strathmore School of Accountancy, SOA, as we like to call it, offered professional certification programs in information technology. So you will remember our former IMIS and other programs in technology. In addition to those programs, the IT skills and competencies were intentionally integrated into all the other programs, including those in business and in administration. And this has continued to be the practice with all our programs. The Bachelor of Business Information Technology, which Dr. Orero has told you about, was one of the flagship programs of the university when we became a chartered university. The university then established a Faculty of Information Technology as we grew, and this faculty has housed our programs on IT. As you've heard from Dr. Orero, the faculty has now grown immensely and is home to both undergraduate programs and also several postgraduate programs, and soon we shall have a Doctor of Philosophy, and as we merge into engineering, as you've heard, we're going to move into the engineering sciences. We've also managed to start the Lab Africa, which is a center, an innovation center in the area of technology, as well as at IBIS, which is the business incubator for innovative startups, most of which actually incorporate aspects of technology. So the time is now ripe for us to launch new programs which are positioned at the convergence of information technology as well as engineering. And that is why we've seen it fit to integrate the computing and engineering sciences, which you'll hear more about, into one school that will then have the programs of engineering that we hope to launch in the near future. So the journey towards the launch of this school goes back in time. Yeah? In fact, It goes back a long way, yeah? And it is now my pleasure to invite the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor John Odhiambo, to share with us this background and also to give us a prelude to what the vision of this school will be like. So it is my pleasure to invite you, Professor John Odhiambo.
All protocols must be observed. Yes, our guest of honor, Engineer Njoroge, who you can see, I'm very happy that he's here. Because you see, this is a friend of the university, a friend of FIT, that all along has been available to advise us, to accompany us in this journey as we kept thinking about engineering. So we are very grateful, Engineer, that you are here, because that gives us confidence and makes us know that this baby can be delivered alive. So this is very good to us. Our Chair of Council, who has been, in fact, our mentor in all these things, she has always been there as a mother to us. Whenever we thought of things that children think about that can easily go off the way, she was there to support us and bring us to line. We are very grateful that you are here. You can see Elizabeth was very happy because she could look at you and she felt not threatened at all. So that is distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all members of the Strathmore family that are participating in this, either here or online. I'm very happy that we are together in this and that we are celebrating a very key milestone in the development of the university. I call this a very important milestone because it is, we feel happy. We feel that we could be celebrating this occasion when we remember Saint Josemaria himself, who inspired the foundation of this university. When he first thought of, after consulting with the bishops in East Africa, of starting a university in Africa, he sent out some very young people to Kenya to figure out exactly how to do this, to look around on the environment, and to get to work to do this. His idea was that these chaps come here and start a university. And specifically a university that would train people in sciences and engineering. So these people actually came. I remember very clearly my friend and mentor, Kevin Oban, who was a member of the Board of Trustees. When he was sent here by St. Josemaria, he was barely 24, 23 years old. As a young man, he left everything he was doing in Ireland and came over here. He was an engineer himself, a very powerful mathematician. He excelled when he was doing his degree. So together with these colleagues that were more or less all similar, they came around, but then the environment was not exactly suitable to start a university right away, because this one was happening pre-independence in the 50s, 58s there. So they surveyed, and that's how Strathmore College of Arts and Sciences in Lavington started. So basically they were doing that in order to lay grounds for a future university. We honor Kevin and his friends that gave that thought and laid the foundations. So when several decades later we started thinking of starting a university, it was like bringing that dream of St. Josemaria to fruition, for which these people had laid a foundation. And so it's not that we were starting in a vacuum. We knew clearly the vision of St. Josemaria for a university in Africa. And so, when I moved over from Nairobi University to here, and we are now working on the document, putting the blueprint for Strathmore University, what is it going to be, what is it going to do, the one that we needed to give to the government to convince them that we can do something useful for the country, we were very clear the areas where we wanted to do our education. So we listed business science because we were very strong in that. And you can see we didn't go wrong because our business school is not doing badly. It's very well known in Africa, and it's doing a lot of work with the government. So we are supporting the government to be competitive, our business school. We had intended to be strong in information technology because we had laid the foundation as a college. Before that, we'll do computer science. So we listed that. We also listed engineering. So information technology, Dr. Herrero showed you how much we have done. We listed engineering because that's what St. Josemaria had wanted, and that is what Kevin and team had planned to do and were laying foundation to do. Then we listed journalism. Betty Ngala is here. We did that. We didn't know you were coming, but now you are here, so you must make sure that sprouts. But we have a degree in communication, so that has been realized, but we want to make sure that we meet that goal fully. We also listed law. And I'm sure some of you have heard of our law school. It's not a joke. It is happening. It is happening in Kenya, East Africa, and Africa. Law is happening. You see. We also listed medicine. And this is very ironical because you see, when Strathmore talks about medical things, they say, now why should Strathmore, what is wrong with Strathmore? It keeps poking its nose everywhere. Because nobody would associate us with medicine at all. Yet, strangely, we are actually turning out very powerful research results in medical area. We have a very powerful team within the university that is doing research and is working with the government closely, and is actually a resource for the government. There's a think tank here that supports and works the government area. So even this pandemic, we have had a lot to do with it. We have never spoken about it because we are serving our mother country, so there's no need to make noise about it. So we don't have a medical school, we don't have a medical degree, but we are starting in the non-conventional way by doing research that will inform the kind of degree and school that will form in another 10 to 15 years. So we are on course. So those were the areas that we had written down. And so you see, engineering comes right from the blueprint. We were preparing. It took us time because this is serious business. You don't go into a serious thing like engineering just like people do. You have to prepare. You have to consult people who know. And we have worked with professors. We have worked with practicing engineers. We have worked with advisors from EBK in order to be where we are today. So we thank everyone who has been working close with us to bring us to this level of fruition. We have been preparing and will continue to prepare. So we celebrate today as a key milestone in our strategic development. As we are thinking of how exactly to make sure that we come up with engineering training that answers to our national needs, but at the same time has an international outlook so that our graduates can be acceptable outside Kenya, we have to do a lot of consultation, a lot of research. So in fact, we had to do a study. What is the trend of engineering? Fortunately, we have very many engineers as professors in our Faculty of Information Technology that formed a team and led a study that learned from all international possibilities, and they advised us. They told us, you know what, the trend now is engineering and computer science are closely knit together in order to solve problems of society. So since Strathmore is a university that is deliberately solving problems of society, that is what we must do. That is how we came up with the name, School of Computing and Engineering Sciences. It was not a political dream of the VC and his team. This is a scientifically formulated approach that has come from the profession themselves, the professors themselves that have advised us that this is the way the world is going. When we were doing that, obviously we had to deal with many questions, many that needed answers. But this pandemic has made our life easier because now everyone realizes that the digital revolution has just occurred. When we were talking about it, it was something coming in the future. Now it is happening, it's here, it's moving us. And therefore our approach or looking at engineering and computer science are things that move together to solve problems of society is something that everyone must do now, but we are leading the way now. They should come to us to learn. You see, this is the idea. This is what motivated us, and we are very proud that actually we are on course. We are doing what should be done. And so we have a lot of hopes. We have a lot of hope for this program. You see, obviously, we are going to train on the known areas like mechanical, like electro and electronics, like civil and structural, all those are, but obviously in the digital era. But engineering today goes beyond that. So we want Strathmore to be known for biomedical engineering because this brings together all areas of engineering. And top universities in the world now that touch engineering are now working on this. So this must happen because it will bring all these, all the areas of engineering will interact. So we want to be strong in that. We want to make sure that we can help Kenya take off in this age of the fourth industrial revolution. But more than that, we want to play a role in helping Africa take off in the fourth industrial revolution. We want to make sure that our program, the degree programs that we'll offer, lay emphasis on data engineering. We want to be leaders in data engineering, data modeling, so that our blend of engineering is geared towards solving problems of society. And the curriculum that we are developing, whether it is electro and electronics, whether it will be mechanical, whether it will be civil and structural, will be aimed at preparing students to be problem solvers, people who are creative, people who are innovative, people who go out there, they meet a problem and provide a solution, but the basic knowledge that we will have given them. That makes a powerful university. We are not going to train technologists. We are going to train engineers, people who can think, be creative, and be innovative, and be thought leaders to take Kenya where it should be. That is what Strathmore must be. Otherwise, we did not need to start Strathmore because there were already good universities in Kenya. Strathmore did not come to compete or to replace any university. We have very good universities. In Njoroge went to Nairobi. I went to Nairobi. Look at him, look at me. We are not fake. We went to a very good university in this country. Strathmore was not started to replace Nairobi. We were created to help our country be among equals and lead them and beat them. We must continue to aim at that. Mungai Edward, you lead this. That's my strategy advisor. He constantly advises me on these matters. Make sure this is, Vincent, this is the challenge. This is where we are going to show that we can help Africa get its place in the fourth industrial. We cannot continue to be remaining back. Universities must lead the way. In Kenya, it is Strathmore to do so. I'm a mathematician. I don't say words that don't have meaning. So every word that I've said carries meaning and Elizabeth, you know you are my map. So make sure these dreams, aspirations, and passions are realized for the good of our country. And ladies are going to take Kenya places in this country. Count them one by one. You'll see they are doing it already. And in Strathmore, you can count them. From our chair to the people she's influencing. I thank you for being there for all of us. So that's very important. So that is where we want to take Strathmore. That is where we want to take our engineering program. And so we think that this is a milestone worth celebrating. And I thank everyone that has contributed this within the university fraternity. Orero and team. Julius Butimo has been my friend from his youth. He did not know that we'll work so closely, but I've known him since his youth. He's a very good friend of mine. I'm glad he's part of the team. And with that kind of team, we cannot go wrong. So we have a lot of hope. Work very closely with Dr. Vincent Ogutu here, with Elizabeth, to make sure that this program leads Strathmore, makes Strathmore to be what it should be. That is a prayer that I know God will answer if we work hard. If we work hard. Very good. I think with those few remarks, I should stop there so that I can say more later on and in future, isn't it? Very good. Thanks very much. So now I have the pleasure of inviting my chair to give her remarks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. May I just say amen to the prayer of Professor Odhiambo. I think you all can clap for him and say we are saying amen. It's my great pleasure to address you this morning. May I recognize in a very special way the presence of the chief guest, Principal Secretary, Minister of Energy, Dr. Engineer Joseph Njoroge, my own brother in many ways. Members of the Strathmore University Council who are present here and those who are watching virtually, distinguished guests who accompanied Dr. Engineer Njoroge. I've seen them here, his friends for over 35 years. I can't compete with that. And management board members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I wish to recognize that Kenigen is also represented here. I've seen a number of people present here. For my colleagues from the council, I have my vice chair, our vice chair, Dr. Caesar Mwangi. He's here. I think it's good for them to see you, Caesar. That is Dr. Caesar Mwangi, many of you have met. I have an architect, Mr. Eispoon, Fernando Eispoon. I have Dr. Susan Kibuye, who is an architect also. There's somebody else here, is it? Yeah. If I leave you out, it's not intentional. And of course, I have Professor himself, he's a member of the council. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would just want to add my voice to what Professor Odhiambo has said and just say thank you for all of you being here today. And I'll not repeat what he has said because most of what I was going to say is what he has said. Therefore, I'll just say, as I already said, amen, but above all to say, we are on the right track. I have been with the university myself, even before it was a university. So I can talk about us being on the right side on the roadmap and achieving, as we have done, all the areas that he has mentioned. So therefore, this event, in a particular way, is a significance as it fulfills the unexpressed wish of our Chancellor. Our Chancellor, who is Dr. Monsignor Fernando Ocaris, represented ably here by, who is not here present, but maybe online, Dr. Engineer Father Silvano Chodre, who is not here, but he's the Pro-Chancellor, and all the other members present here from the Chancellor's office. It is the express wish for him. He has many times as encouraged us and seen through his foresight that the need for us to move forward in the direction that we are moving. It was also the wish of all his predecessors who passed on, and above all, it is the wish, or it was the vision of the visionary himself, St. Jose Maria, the founder of Opus Dei. He considered that the primary purpose of a university as a special contribution towards human progress. He envisioned the university as always being at the service of the contemporary society. That's what Professor was talking about, being able to give to the society, being able to support the society in every possible way. Our world today is on the verge of the fourth industrial revolution, Professor has talked about it, in which digital technology is converging with the physical innovation. I don't have to say that, it has been made more pronounced during this pandemic. Through this school, Strathmore will continue to contribute to the technological development of the country and of the region, as Professor you said, Africa, and even worldwide, globally, because we partner with many other universities worldwide and even work closely with other institutions worldwide. In keeping with the spirit of the university, this service will be centered on the good of the human person, the good of the human person at all times. I think you all know that one of our pillars in our strategic plan is service to society, and that is where it is drawn from. Today, as you know, we are living in a challenging circumstances brought about by the global pandemic, that is COVID-19. It's very daring, but so appropriate, isn't it? That today Strathmore University decides that they want to launch such a school during this, in the middle of all this. That is something that we should celebrate. And Professor, we celebrate you with your management team and the school and Professor Israel and all your colleagues here. This is a daring, positive fact that has brought about the most important thing, that this can be done, that in every situation there's a silver lining, and you have taken it out. You're using it very well. In this context, it's commendable for you, and everybody, I want just to recognize that it's very commendable that you have done this. This school is going to go places, I can tell you that. There's no doubt about it, because from Professor's explanation, ladies and gentlemen, the thought behind it, the support, the stakeholders, oh my, what are we looking for? A lot of research has been put into this, a lot of commitment and dedication from the staff, from everybody. It's just impossible to think of it otherwise. All I pray and ask is that may we really carry forward the spirit that it has, that this school is going to bring about. May I mention when I was invited to come today, Professor, this is a little secret I want to say, but it's very personal, and I couldn't miss this for anything. My own father was an engineer, and he was a teacher at Kabete Technical School, and that's where I was born. So I had this special urge. I said to myself, I must come, because it's as the professor said, and as Father Mimbi says, engineers are very practical people. And I'm speaking from experience, because I grew up in his hands. After sharing that personal interest in this school, may I take this opportunity once again to congratulate you all for this great work that you've done, the management board, together with the deans and academics staff for all the efforts that you have put into this. And I can only assure you of one thing, that the council, the university council, with my colleagues who are present here and those who are out there, we are going to give you all the support that is needed, and at the same time, we'll be able to give the direction that may be needed, and hopefully, I have 2 architects on my council. I hope the next thing that you will sleep in this school will be that. I'm sure you can see where I'm heading to. That it can be an area of interest in many ways. My special gratitude goes also to all those partners and our people who have supported us, maybe even not seen personally, but maybe even through their prayers and their encouragement in so many ways, from the Chancellor himself, the Pro-Chancellor, and all his teams out there that have come a long way to support us. May I therefore wish you all the best of luck, and Dr. Orero, you are on the right path. Professor Israel, continue leading the way for all this, and I can assure you, Professor Odhiambo, that they are going to achieve much, much more in this school of computing and engineering sciences. And yes, it's not 10 years, it's not 15 years. Shorter than that, we shall have the medical school. With that, I just want to say thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you very much, the Chair of the Strathmore University Council, Mrs. Bernadette Musundi. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment is here. It's my great privilege to request all of you to stand up so that we escort the chief guest to the podium as he comes to give us the keynote address that we have been waiting for. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Let's sit down, please. Thank you very much. The chairperson of the council, for your brilliant and very elaborate speech, together with the VC, who has also made a very informing speech about the background of this school. So I want to recognize Mrs. Bernadette Msudi, the chair of the university, the professor, John Othiabo, the VC of this university, and their very able supporters, Dr. Elizabeth Gashenga, the DVC Academic and Student Affairs, my very good friend, very passionate in what he does, Professor Israel Da Silva, the DVC Research and Innovation. And I want to recognize my former lecturer at the University of Nairobi, Professor Muthiada, who taught me I think in both the first and second year at the university. I want to recognize all the staff of this Strathmore University, and also the senior public and private sector officials who are here. Allow me to mention one of our CEOs in the sector, Rebecca Miano, the Managing Director of KenGen, and also the former Managing Director of KenGen, who is also an advisor in this university, Engineer Albert Mogo. Allow me also to recognize Mr. Naresh, who has been a partner of Kenya Power, the former MD of Power Techniques, and also my deputy in the ministry, who has also been very involved with the Strathmore University in developing a solar power plant for the purposes of teaching Engineer Kiva. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You had a very good breakfast. Please be louder. Good morning. Before I talk about the occasion of the day, and also a little bit of my involvement in what we are doing today, and my experience with the very many staff in this university, just allow me to lead a small narrative about engineering as the foundation of prosperity. A very well-written narrative by your staff, and I thought that I must give them the honor to do a small reading on engineering, the foundation of our prosperity, by saying that since the dawn of human civilization, societies have used technology innovations in different ways to improve the standard of life by doing things in better ways. Continuous improvement. It underpinned the numerous inventions that were made prior to and during the agrarian revolution, the industrial revolution, and finally the information revolution. And today we are actually talking about fourth industrial revolution. So things are happening. Every generation innovation have compiled, codified, and passed on the knowledge and experience generated in the field to the next generation. Thanks to the efforts and diligence, the field of STEM has become deep and diverse over the millennium until it attained the esteem with which we hold it today. Along the way, the need for a clear distinction among engineering disciplines was felt. In response, the various disciplines like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and civil engineering were organized. More recently, we have witnessed convergence among the traditional specializations, which have resulted in the emergence of the areas like mechatronics. Owing to the demands of the modern economy, this process by which the next generation of engineers is trained and let loose into the field has now become indispensable in any country that hopes to remain relevant in the current challenging global. As costly as it is, it cannot be forever outsourced to a foreign country. We must train our own human resources. Nor can we leave it only to the public sector. We must combine forces of the public sector and the private sector and the universities, the research institutions to be successful. It is for this reason that I am pleased to, on behalf of the government of Kenya, congratulate Strathmore University for taking upon itself this burden and stepping up the momentous task of training a new crop of engineers for our country. Please clap for yourselves. Because just as the Industrial Revolution changed the way human labor was used, the emergence of computers and the information technology has changed the way we work. Even before the unfortunate COVID-19 pandemic made us realize we had the tools needed to work remotely, the convergence of IT and engineering had already given birth to a new revolution. And that new revolution is the fourth industrial revolution, which arose from the uptake of the Internet of Things, which is a very current narrative today, and whereby physical pieces of engineering materials are getting connected to each other with the fast broadband networks, enabling them to be monitored by sensors and controlled by monitors, even from remote sources. Kenya might have missed out on preparing the Industrial Revolution. For that, we can only blame our forefathers, not ourselves. However, our generation will be unable to escape blame if Kenya were to miss out on the fourth Industrial Revolution and the Internet of Things and the chance to create a mainstream middle-income economy with a good quality of life for ourselves, which is really our dream of what we call the Vision 2030. For us to realize this dream, our universities must play a very significant and greater role in training engineers. Strathmore University has significant strength in training IT professionals through its mainstream information technology degree programs, and Strathmore has constantly produced competent graduates sought after by employers in Kenya and around the world. Makofi kwa nyinyi. Strathmore University is also famous, and commendably so, for its focus on ethics in the industry and in the delivery of all of its programs. When you are here for a 4-year degree or a short course or any undertaking or even a technical training at the Strathmore Energy Research Center, no student goes out the gates having never heard of the imperative not only be a technically excellent professional, but also be morally good person as well. And we cannot underestimate this important attribute of the Strathmore University, the emphasis on the good morals. We are in a regime, we are now in a situation where the talk of corruption is very current in our country. And when you look and interrogate the sort of corruption we are having, there is an element of what I would call the core values, the loss of the core values. And I think when we have a university which is so focused on good morals, besides the professional excellence, that is the best we can think of and we can ask for in a country where we are talking about those challenges of corruption. And as Prince Philip of the United Kingdom once said, and I do agree with him, everything that wasn't invented by God is invented by an engineer. And we have just had that prayer. Our chaplain has read us in a very good prayer. And an unethical engineer poses an incalculable danger to society. When we talk about buildings falling down and killing people, we are really talking about the failure of an engineer. So when you teach ethics on top of what these engineers are doing here, it is a plus for Strathmore University. And Kenya is speedily embracing renewable energy to power its industrialization agenda, and the Computing Sciences and Engineering School, which we are launching here today, find Strathmore University at the front line of research as well as adoption of renewable energy. And this is the best you could have done at this moment in time. Our chair has emphasized on coming up with a School of Computing and Engineering at a time when we are all whining about COVID. And I think this is another very good step, another attribute of Strathmore University. Even in the midst of challenges, prosperity must be there. Can you clap for yourselves? Now, having done that introduction, I wanted to say that my desire to this Strathmore University goes back in the year 2018. And in that year, first of all, before I had met Professor Da Silva, because Professor was very focused on putting up a pilot solar power plant. And together we have worked a very long journey with Professor Da Silva on that solar plant. And therefore, in 2018, we had a meeting in the ministry. And it so happened, because of my previous knowledge of Professor Da Silva, we had put him as one of our members of a task force, which we were doing, which were interrogating our independent power producers. We had him, and we also had my former lecturer, Professor Muthiada. I hope he's still around. Yes, he is. And you know, Professor talked to me about setting up this school. And at that moment, because we've just finished the meeting, I called both of them to my office. And I told Professor, my friend, you have another professor here of engineering who taught me, and I can testify that he is equal to the task of working with you and putting up this School of Computing and Engineering. And I am happy to say that that dream has been realized today. Because indeed, Professor Da Silva are now in this university working with Professor Muthiada, and they are working to make sure that we set up this School of Computing and Engineering. On top of that, Professor and I have worked a long journey to making sure that your courses are accredited by the Engineers Board of Kenya. I have had several interventions with the Registrar of the Engineers Board of Kenya after interrogating and going through the program that is going to be undertaken by the students in this particular School of Computing and Engineering. And I'm happy to say that even from my own exposure and experience in engineering, I think we are offering an excellent engineering course. And I have just today again observed a very excellent facility of the laboratory. You must have seen I had deep interest in the labs at the laboratories that we launched again today. Excellent, with even social distance, with even the materials that give students the fundamentals of engineering. I must say, I am really proud to be here today. And thank you very much. The team that has gone into preparing all that work, starting with the chair, all of you for this excellent preparation, and coming up with a university that will not only teach our children engineering, but they will teach them applied engineering. Engineering that they can even start applying when they are here. And that meeting point of theory and practice is so important, It is really what achieves what the priest or the chaplain today made. The prayer he made today is that God help us interpret the prints and put up those prints into reality. And that's what engineering is all about. And once you have the prints here, and then at the same time, you are even trying to demonstrate how those prints can be operationalized into real life situations. That is the real engineering. And I must say, this is an excellent facility that you have put up, and you'll come up with an excellent school of computing and engineering. Talking about the 600 kilowatts power plant, that solar power plant that Da Silva pioneered in this university, and he did it not just for powering this university, but also for making a practical lesson to the students who come here. Because when they teach them on engineering, one of those engineerings will be electrical engineering, renewable energy, which is the big thing of the moment. Renewable energy is the big thing of the moment. Indeed, this system, which Professor Da Silva has put up, has been used to train engineers and technical people as a live laboratory. More than 3,000 people from 10 different countries, not just Kenya, have been trained here on how to design, install, and maintain solar systems, even utility size, grid tie, and hybrid systems. This is what we want engineers to do. And when we extend our public service beyond our own people to the other countries around this region, that's the greatest service you can deliver to humankind. So congratulations, Strathmore, for this excellent servant service to the rest of the world. Indeed, we have also partnered with Kenyatta University on another solar project. That one has incorporated a tracking system, slightly different from what we have here. We have also collaborated with the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, again on a biomass plant. These collaborations between ourselves and the university are a demonstration of the government's wish to work together with other stakeholders in the country, the business fraternity, the university fraternity, so that we can create a better Kenya for ourselves. We can also achieve the Vision 2030. Indeed, renewable energy is one of our main emphases in the ministry. And currently we have an installed generation capacity of about 2,712 megawatts, out of which 70% is from renewable sources of geothermal, hydropower, wind, solar, cogeneration, and biogas. If you may want to know, Kenya is a leader in geothermal power generation. I think we are now the 8th largest producer of geothermal energy in the world. And that again, that company which is doing that generation of geothermal is championed by none other than Rebecca. So we are very gender sensitive. Rebecca Miano is the MD. The energy we dispatch is actually about 95% green. Although we have some thermal power plants, we rarely use them, only during the peak time. And this makes our country one of the few countries in the world where the main source of electricity is from green sources. We are indeed a green country. One of the attributes of Strathmore is entrepreneurship. You have had a very significant leadership in training students with entrepreneurship. And even now, more than 200 students of computer in Strathmore are being trained by IBM on such things as Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, coding, to quote just a few. This is a demonstration of your focus on practical-based engineering, and that is what the world needs today. On the linkage with the Vision 2030 and our Big Four initiative, the initiative of what we are calling manufacturing, so that we can build our economy by creating employment for our youth, the initiative of being socially sensitive and therefore coming up with what we are calling affordable housing. Then we also have universal health care, affordable health care again. And of course, we are also coming up with food and nutrition security. Those are very crucial Big Four agendas of the government. And this strategic move by Strathmore, which you have made, is, as you hear, aligned to the Big Four and also our Vision 2030. So that by the year 2030, we will attain middle-income economy status, and we will also be an industrializing nation. Those are things we cannot achieve without electricity, without energy. Affordable, sustainable, reliable, and cost-effective, even competitively priced energy. Those description of the energy that we need to drive the Vision 2030 and also the Big Four are clearly going to benefit a lot from this School of Computing and Engineering at Strathmore University. I have no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that the engineers you will produce here will come out focused on delivering well-equipped skills which will enhance infrastructural development. The young people trained here will need to partner with the government, the development agencies, and the private sector to have an impact which is deep, wide, and long-lasting, based also on your very important value, core value of good ethics. The ministry is very keen in collaborating with the institutions of higher learning in innovation research in the areas of policy development, energy technology, and delivery mechanisms, as well as innovation. We will also enhance our cooperation in development of local capacity on energy and building of professionalism. In order to enhance green economy, the ministry will be partnering with Strathmore University, the academia, research institutions, development partners, and private sector in development of e-mobility strategy. You have all noted how important this e-mobility is. It has made us useful even when we are supposed to keep social distance. We can still continue learning, we can continue meeting. Most of our meetings are now being held on web, Zoom, and such e-mobility devices. Excellent idea. I know Strathmore University has taken the lead in IT. What I have known Strathmore for, from the very many years, I think from 2003, is its focus on ICT. Well done. We wouldn't be as effective in communication today with the COVID if we didn't have these very sophisticated ICT knowledge and skills in the country. Well done. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, what makes a country great is ultimately its people. Once people are skillful and passionate about the role they can play in making this planet a better place, all the rest can be achieved. We must focus on making a positive difference to humankind with our skills, with our knowledge, with the research that we are doing here at the university. My hearty congratulations to all the stakeholders of this Strathmore University who have walked a very long journey and made us reach where we have reached today of establishing the School of Computing and Engineering. I want to laud you all, the stakeholders of Strathmore University, starting from your Chancellor, your Council Chair, your VC, and all the others. This very important School of Computing and Engineering, which I hereby declare as officially launched. I wish Strathmore great years ahead as you establish expertise in this very special and critical area for enabling the economy. Deo gratias, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Now, social, how do you reach against?
No problem. We will say Thank you very much. You want me to open it or it's okay? We save time. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, and again, God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And if you see me leaving, please, I seek your indulgence because of the other activities that are lined up in our team.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. I think that perhaps we owe Dr. Njoroge a bigger round of applause, surely. Thank you. Great. So our chief guest, Dr. Engineer Joseph Njoroge, has inspired us. I promised you at the beginning that we shall inspire and celebrate. So we have had words of inspiration. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to move on to the next part, which is a panel discussion. Now that we have listened to those words of inspiration by our chief guest, he has told us that engineering is the driver of prosperity. He has challenged us that we must produce the positive change that is required with our knowledge. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we want to look at exactly how we should do that. We need to begin to plan, not tomorrow, not next week, today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask Professor Isael da Silva to introduce the panelists for our discussion today. Karibu, Professor.
Thank you very much. Great. Yes, so there is something missing for the launch. We want you to see. So from some 5 seconds.
All right. Prof is talking about the launch of the website of the new school. So we are going to have that launch of the website so that we can allow Dr. Njoroge to leave at his own leisure after that. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1. So there you are. Thank you very much. Whenever you need information about the new school, you just come to this website. All admission details are there. You can apply online. You can see what is going on. News are posted there. You can apply online through this website. Okay. Thank you very much. Welcome back, Prof.
Thank you very much. So I would like now to call upon the good services of very many interesting heads of engineering and computing. We are going to have a very interesting panel here, and then there is a gentleman called Dr. Solomon. He is he is one of our faculty. He is twice engineer, has 2 degrees in engineering, and has a PhD in computer sciences. So he is very qualified to try to set a kind of a pace for the discussion we are going to have here. Very sharp, very crisp, very interesting. So he is coming from across the Atlantic, like some of us, and he is going to make a speech, and that small speech will give the line for the panelists to discuss things and then put us in the know of how the convergence between computers and engineering. So I would like to invite to join us here Kendi Twiga Nderito. She is the Microsoft country manager. So Salomon. She is very, you know, Microsoft has been a partner with us. We have been offered by Microsoft a very auditorium here and also a conference room, and we've been doing some research together. Thank you, welcome. Yeah, and also it is very important for us to have Kendi here because, you know, our constitution says that any gathering has to be 30% women, isn't it? Minimum. So she is part of it. The next one is my colleague, electrical engineer, Catherine Nyambala. She is from Kengen, and she is one of the strongest advocates for women in tech, STEAM. So welcome. With that, I don't fear Uhuru. He does not. He cannot come and disbundle us. Now we have 30%. Yes. So the other person is John Muthiada. He's the principal of Strathmore School, and as you know, quite a number of the students we have in Strathmore University, they came from Strathmore School. So we said, well, this man is the one who will be preparing kids for the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences. So has something to tell us. Then, the other person I'm inviting to come is engineer Naresh Mehta. Is arguably the engineer who has hired more engineers in this country ever. So he has been supporting us as one of our advisors, and he has a lot of experience, and together we are working also together with the other engineer, Alberto Mugo. We are setting up a training in partnership with DBK to train young engineers to be all round. So the next one is David Bonet. He is, I came to know him today, but he is very famous, so I knew him before, so today I have a face. David Bunei is the MD of Oracle Kenya. Yes. Thank you. As you can see, we have engineers and computer scientists, isn't it? Okay, so the other member of this panel of ours is Engineer Tom Owero, Director in charge of Frequency Spectrum. He is coming. Very well. So I think I have my panel set already. So Engineer Doctor, you will have the floor. Thank you.
So, thank you. I need the clicker. To go through my slides. Maybe to put my slides on. Hello. Can you all please put up the slides? So the topic of this talk is embracing a changing society through the convergence of computing and engineering. Now my computing and engineering roots go a little deeper than what was explained. I actually followed my sister to a high school that had a pre-engineering program. We were taught by a former military colonel who was an electrical engineer, and he taught us electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and then he started teaching us how to write software. So let's look at the vision of the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences, to be the leading school of computing and engineering sciences, positively impacting society through research and innovation. Now, one of the things an engineer does just by being an engineer wants to get things done. They like to do things that are applied, and they like to optimize things. They like to continuously improve. And that is what we are going to be doing with SCES. Continuously improving, training people, and being innovators for this country. So engineering is meaning to apply skills in the real world. In computer science, you have the foundation of the knowledge people need to use computers. In this world, everything is running off of a computer now. And nobody's going to get any further without understanding how to use them. Children know how to use iPhones easily, they know how to use tablets, and they learn all these things intuitively. But we have to teach people how these things work at a basic level. However, in order to go further, we have to teach people the engineering background so that they understand how to apply all this knowledge and apply it properly across the fields of civil, across the fields of mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. So as it's already been spoken to, the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences is bringing together computer science and information technology and merging it with engineering sciences, similar to what my education has done. My bachelor's degree is in computer engineering. What computer engineering does is it fuses a base of electrical engineering into computer science. And that way, it helped prepare me for what's coming up in this fourth industrial revolution. One of the things SCES does is we're extending the ideals of some of our founders. So we have some of the engineering founders, Silvano Baruso and Kevin Obaim. Silvano was an architectural engineer, and Kevin was a civil engineer. Now we're finally gotten to the point where we're going to be able to build our own engineers to recreate like some of the people that helped build Strathmore in the first place. So many of our previous speakers spoke to the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is dealing with a lot of automation, the Internet of Things, using cloud computing, which is just a fancy way of using computers otherwhere for processing power that are not directly in front of you. And what SCES is going to do is make sure students have the background to do all of these things. So right now, the people I know, for instance, in iLab, who work on data science, and people who are doing IoT, they're mostly self-taught and self-trained. SCES is now making it possible so that Strathmore is teaching and training so that the people, the students that we produce, have a deeper understanding of IoT, a deeper understanding of automation, a deeper understanding of artificial intelligence and data science, and know how to apply it in the real world. SCES is also going to be market-oriented. So there are going to be agile courses. Agile courses as in, we're going to respond to the needs of industry. And that's why we have so many industry people on the panel today. They're going to communicate with us what are the skill sets they need. The engineering school is going to be able to train on those skill sets. We're going to be able to train students on web development technologies like Laravel, React, Node.js, Kubernetes, which is a cloud software for all these big corporations, and be a school that's producing more students who can, what do we call this? Who are qualified as top tier in the world. And so now, my last slide is about the core values for the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences. And like what was spoken to before, these are some of the Strathmore family's core values: ethical practice and accountability. One of our speakers already spoke to how a terrible, unethical engineer is one of the most dangerous things in the world. We are going to make sure to train our engineers to be ethical and practice those ethics and be accountable in the work that they perform. We're looking at always having partnerships and collaborations here at our panel. We're looking for sustainability. That's why we were focusing on renewable energy. That's why I'm glad Dr. De Silva has helped with the solar panels and solar power generation for the school. Paying attention to service for society, making an innovative research environment, and making sure to maintain excellence in teaching and learning. And another, just personal anecdote, I have a neighbor who's from Sudan. He's an international lawyer, and he sent his brother here for school because he considers Strathmore the strongest school in East Africa. So, that concludes my brief talk. Now it's time for us to ask questions of our panel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daniel, for setting the pace for this discussion. I hope all of you are going to contribute. Those of you who are online, please also feel free to put in your contributions, to ask questions and make comments online. So, Dr. Daniel has given us a very good basis for us to start the discussion. The topic is convergence between computing and engineering. And I want to throw that topic directly to the panelists to start us off. However, allow me to bring up a small topic that was raised by the Vice Chancellor and our chief guest also. And I want to start with you, Kendi. I know you are interested in the take-up of IT, engineering, and STEM disciplines by women. So the question is, how should industry work with academia to engage girls and women to take up STEM and engineering?
Thank you for the question. Of course, that's an area of passion, so I'm glad you asked that question first. Before we even get to industry and academia, what I would want to say for girls, and the chairperson alluded to it, and which is also my story and a story for so many other women who are in the fields of STEM. The process of having a woman engaged in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, starts way earlier in her life. Like she was nurtured by her engineer father, I was also nurtured by my engineer and computer scientist father. So that from the very early time, a girl understands or sees an example and is able to take that up. Now that said, we know in our system, Kenya, it's in high school that you determine which courses you're going to take. So while you take up, you're waiting for the women to come in university, I would then challenge both industry and academia to go to high school and have the girls engaged pretty early before they get to Form 2, which is when you choose the courses. Get them to understand, even before high school actually, primary school, get them to appreciate that mathematics and sciences are critical and they are logical subjects and they're actually easy subjects to do. Because when I look at it, I'm like, if it's logical, you can explain it, you can understand it, then it's easy for you to execute it. So if we get industry, which like we are doing, like Microsoft, we do that quite a lot, we partner, we go out to the primary schools, we go out to high schools, we hold forums where we show the reality of technology, of engineering, of maths to life, then girls feel the need to participate in life, because we've said engineering and sciences and computing is really part of life. So if we approach it from that angle, where we're showing girls, if you don't participate in this, then you're losing out participating in life, and we show them early enough, and we show them the interest. By the time you receive them in university, and by the time we work with you from industry, then we'll have a very good pipeline to hand over.
Thank you very much. Starting early is important. If starting early is important, Mr. Muthiada, how do you see universities using IT and engineering technologies to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in teaching and learning? You are involved in education. You are looking after young people who are going to take up these courses. And Candy says we must start early. What do we do?
Thank you very much. I hope I can be heard.
Could you switch on? Yes. So.
Yeah, I think I'm the obvious storyteller here. I teach English and literature, so I feel privileged to be among engineers. Now, I want to start by what happened, especially during these COVID times in the school. So I'm in my sitting room and I'm watching the president say there's no school from tomorrow. That's a Sunday. And I'm wondering what will happen to 600 plus boys that I take care of for the next, I thought it would be several weeks. Now it's been months. So what has happened since then? We were able to put together some programs, actually within a week or so. We were able to reach out to 100% of our students. They've been learning. We have been, a number of things we have been able to do. That were imaginable. That were imaginable before COVID. That you can actually go to class in the morning in your house and engage students. I teach literature. I've been able to mark compositions online and return. I've been able to finish one set book, move a class from 40% to 73%. So there are so many things we've been able to do that were imaginable. We've been able to teach, things like physical education, again, online. It's almost like we never closed. But what has made that possible, including opening assembly? I had an opening assembly in September. 3 groups of students, lower primary, upper primary, secondary. We've been able to teach physical education. Now, there are 3 gentlemen in the school that made this possible. And what they have in common is that their basic training may not have been in education. So one of them, Andrew Karandi, is actually a trained civil engineer. The other one, is a trained mechanical engineer. So we're actually able to come up with platforms that you could actually, hinge on and move the school forward. So I would want to take pride in saying that I've been the one running the school. No, the school is now being run by 2 engineers With these three gentlemen, we've been able to run our programs effortlessly. Now, apart from that, we even discovered that, right from, as she said, we have to start as early as grade 1, you can actually start teaching computing and fundamentals of coding online. We've been able to run our garden societies online. So that brings about a revolution. Where does the university come in? The reason why many schools are not what Strathmore School has been able to do probably maybe because of hardware challenges. Our boys are privileged that most of their parents can afford. Universities could come up with affordable hardware in terms of tablets. So if every Kenyan had an affordable tablet, I think we would have solved this problem. There is a whole question of the IT in universities supporting learning technology so that we have computer games that can teach mathematics. Now, those of us with the teenagers, and you listen to them playing computer games, you get alarmed by some of the comments they make as they play. You know, oh, break into the bank. No, you have to rob the bank. You want to make points. So if they could solve the equations, something and points, then you bridge the gap between technology and education. I want to finish by saying that, you know, our youngsters are dual citizens. They are living in the solid world and they're also living virtually. If you want to understand your average, especially in urban centers, you have two options. You have to download them from the internet, or you have to go to where they live, which is in the virtual world. Now, since no app has been developed to download teenagers from the internet, I think you have to make an effort to meet them in their world. So I have had 5 or 6 exciting months of teaching online, and even post-COVID, there are things that we don't go back to. But as you said, we have to start early, then the university have to partner with institutions and see where technology meets education. As I said, without the 2 engineers and the botanist in the school, I would have tried the ranks of the people complaining about COVID and wondering when schools will reopen. So I would say technology has gone a long way in aiding education.
Thank you very much, John. I would like to move now to industry, and I want to ask you this question, Catherine. You are in charge of quality. You are the chief engineer quality in KenGen, the largest energy generator in the region. What are the quality issues in terms of convergence of computing and engineering? What are the quality issues that universities should be aware about?
Thank you for that question. And before I even answer about the quality issues, please allow me, because I'm an advocate for women in STEM, I want to pick up from where Kendi left and say we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. But we don't want to wallow in our weakness. We want to focus on how strong we can be. And where do we draw our strength? We draw our strength from the equal opportunities that we are given. And so I just want to make one point to the engineering school and computing. Please avoid unconscious bias. So for the lecturers in this school, avoid unconscious bias in class, and most especially, avoid unconscious bias in the labs, because the unconscious bias isn't carried with us to industry, and you don't allow the women engineers to touch the spanner in the power plant when the men are holding it. And that way the women don't get to grow, and then you have a retention problem. So just one point, avoid unconscious bias from the school right on to industry. Coming back to quality issues and what the university should focus, quality is of utmost importance in computing and engineering. Imagine building a bridge that goes down, and I think we saw one in Kenya some time back, a bridge that actually went down, causing people to lose lives. That's how pertinent quality is. And in the area of electrical engineering, more so, because we all know the impact that you can get with low quality power connections. And so the university has got to put a due focus on quality with regard to training the engineers that will come from this school. Now, if you look at the mega projects in this country, I'm talking about projects such as the standard gauge, putting up a whole industrial park, places like Konza. When you start training the computing and engineering students, you have to give them that training that enables them to ensure that their services are able to compete at world-class level. And that is how much I cannot overemphasize the role of quality in an engineer's life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I want to move to Engineer Naresh Mehta. Our chief guest articulately underlined the need for industry to work together with universities. How can industry and academia work together to ensure graduates earn a significant on-job experience and skills during their university training?
Thank you very much for the question. Let me just give a brief about my 4 decades of work in engineering. If you talk about all the development within the country, say for Safaricom, when it started, all electrics was done by our company. Most of the corporate companies, including Kengen, local company has been giving service to these big companies, and these are all locally trained engineers. So given a correct opportunity inside the company and nurturing the talent systematically gives them a rise to a knowledge. The only difference is when they are trained overseas, they've got a different platform of training, and when they're in Kenya, there's a different platform for training because the number of industries are not as many. So the challenge is how to close the gap between the two so that we can have the same quality of training and the same pace at which we can develop these engineers. I would say, for example, KPLC has got more than 50 engineers trained from Power Techniques who are in KPLC and Indian and Kenya ports and airport in so many places. So we had engaged very well with public sector and private sector. In fact, the private sector was giving engineers to the public sector. It was the other way around. So it's just a matter of opportunity and connecting with the university, giving them the right opportunity in terms of quality of equipment, giving the good discipline. And I can see Strathmore is started in the same direction, giving the right format, if you go to the lab, a place for everything and everything in its place. That culture of 5S, clean, tidy, it's emanating from the university, which transpires to the industry, is the growth. So what you teach here is very important for the absorption of the graduate engineers into the industry, and they'll get settled very fast. Coming to technology, I think having done engineering with a slide rule, no calculator, no computers, and coming at this age, we are a generation of transition. We started from an old system, set squares and drawing boards to computers, AutoCAD and everything. We are the last generation, a bridge between the past and the present. And I'm working on another project now, is a data center, which is now taking IT, electrical, mechanical, civil, all disciplines into one and making it a successful project. 70% of the data center is power and cooling and IT. IT sits on top. So if there is no good infrastructure, your data center will never succeed. And you know, data center is more important than a hospital would be. Because in a hospital, if someone is in ICU, you can shift him to another hospital. But if someone is, if you go to a data center with 99.999% availability, if you go down by a minute, it does more damage than a patient in the hospital. So I think this project is going to be very interesting for me, because it's going to be one of the largest data centers in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Mehta. And I really want to ask the same question to David Bunei. I hope the audience, you are also listening carefully, because I'll be coming to you and allow you also to make comments and ask questions. Engineer Mehta has given us some very interesting perspectives, including a new way of even looking at convergence across the disciplines of engineering, even mechanical, electrical, and civil. And David is managing director of the Kenya Hub in Oracle. And since we are talking about convergence of computing and engineering, I want to hear the same question, the answer to the same question from the computing side. How should universities go about ensuring their curricula remain relevant in an environment of rapidly changing technology?
Thank you very much. I think to other panelists, I think we're at a time when the rapid change of technology and the education that we've had in the past are starting to disconnect. And the timing that Strathmore University has put in terms of merging these two disciplines is critical and providing an opportunity to train and really have the right engineers and talent that we really will be able to support the rapid change in technology. Why do I say this? I trained as an engineer about 20 plus years ago. I had an exposure of computer design in my second, third year of college through a partnership with an engineering firm. And that in itself was a massive, massive opportunity for me when I graduated to really get a job on the first day without having to wait to get a job. Today, the type are being used out there, what we're hearing now, artificial intelligence, machine learning, we talk about IoT. If you look at the curriculum that was there then, and the curriculum that you need to be able to bridge these new, what we call emerging technologies, it requires a very deliberate partnership between the industry and the academia. It is so important that throughout this journey, that partnership is hand to hand and continuous collaboration, whether through research or through internship or through programs that leverages both sides of the, and including government, by the way, is so critical that that journey is hand to hand, because the speed of innovation that we're seeing in the industry is quite rapid now. I think in the 1900s, and a lot of, we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, most of those first, second, third industrial revolutions took roughly 100, 150 years. The fourth industrial revolution that we are experiencing now, we believe it's emerging within the last 20 years. That means perhaps the next fifth industrial revolution will probably happen in a span of 10 years or less. It means then we have to be really, really deliberate in our partnership and accelerating the joint innovations and research that supports the industry as well as the academia. The other point I want to mention is around the convergence also of technology, like the data center. The traditional technology or the traditional engineering faculties, whether you have a faculty that has departments of mechanical engineering, the departments of electrical engineering, civil engineering. All that is now being anchored by computing. Why do I say that? Take an example of the fastest selling motor vehicle today in the world. Company is called Tesla. In terms of market capitalization, it is much bigger than all the big companies, motor vehicle companies, General Motors, Toyota, and others, just because they used computing power to really build the motor vehicle. And the motor vehicle is basically running on a computing platform. Similar to the building industry, what we see, the most expensive buildings today are not physical buildings built well. They are not only built well, but they have to be smart also. That means there's a computing power behind it that manages the power, that manages the air conditioning, manages the environment and the people. So the reality is the merger of the computing platform and engineering is at the right time, and we have to be deliberate in our partnership, continue to anchor ourselves towards really what's changing in our environment. Because I do believe the journey that we began at Strathmore today is the right journey, and we believe it's going to make a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I will go to Engineer Tom Oloero. Engineer, you've heard David talk about computing as the anchor for engineering. He emphasizes the speed of change in this area, and he recommends partnerships. Specifically, he's talked about the partnership to review curricula within the university, aligning and coping with that speed of change. How about the regulators? Are the regulators up to speed? Specifically, telecommunications and IT have experienced rapid growth and convergence to blur the line that existed in terms of how users accessed services and applications. So how can regulators and universities collaborate to ensure that universal access to communication services become a reality, especially for developing countries like Kenya?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. And it is indeed very, very relevant for our situation. First of all, I want to thank Prof here. I am a parent in this institution. My son is doing 4th year in FIT. I'm not very regular, but I should be more regular here to be able to see what's happening. So I really appreciate the institution. He's very neat, and he tells me if he's not that way, he will not be allowed to enter the gates of this highly esteemed institution. So after appreciating that, I want to talk about these changes as we talk about them. I started in my career in 1985. At that time, I was a switching engineer, and I remember there were technologies like step-by-step switching systems. Those were purely mechanical, and then they came to crossbar, where it started being a bit electronic. Then we actually went to other systems which were now using stored program control. It has gone, and that is where the convergence of communication and information technology started happening. So that right now, even with all the switching systems, you wonder, is it an IT system or is it a communication system? Times have really changed. The control and the sort of configuration is done on a keyboard rather than looking for a ladder to go and set these things. So there I saw it in my lifetime as times changed. And also regarding the present function that I do right now, we have monitoring stations around the country. Initially, we would have to travel around the country and go and monitor and get the data and travel back to the office. Or if there was some interference, we would have to really go out in the field. I'm talking of going to Kitale, to Mombasa, to Garissa, and all around. But now with time, things have changed so much. We are leveraging on data communication, and we have systems there which store data on computers. So what we have to do is just to interrogate these remote stations and be able to get any sort of information that we want, be it some audio, we can stream it back, and any other plots that we would have had to go and look for an oscilloscope and data analyzers to get. Now, the way we are working has changed. We only go out to the field when we really have to go out there, but otherwise we can always get all the information we need from a central control point in our office here. Now, regarding the issue of partnership and collaboration, I'm happy I've seen it as one of the values that this new institution, this new department has. We are in a lot of collaboration with industry. And I remember there is one university which actually brought to us their curriculum, and we input what we thought would be relevant for a student from that institution to come and hit the ground running. And we really did give it our best. We gave them the various aspects, and we gave the amendments, and I'm sure they took them on board, so that when you talk of a switch, somebody doesn't come out into industry and then he learns that this is the switch that you're just drawing a box and a cross and saying that is a switch, and say things like those. So really, we are collaborating with industry. Whenever they engage us, we gladly go into it and work closely with them. And even with this institution, we have a memorandum of understanding with this institution, which is still ongoing. We have been working very, very closely on TV white space. That's a technology that will enable access, as the moderator was asking, how we could reach universal access to Kenyans. With that sort of last mile access technology, we'll be able to reach those Kenyans some of who cannot even receive or send M-Pesa, while us we're enjoying this in the towns. So we are exploring that sort of technology, and this university has been very, very useful in linking us with other universities like in the UK and other places around Africa who have done this and elsewhere, so that soon we'll be able to get out regulations to deal with TV white space, and we'll be able to reach those Kenyans who are not able to be reached as per now. So I really appreciate the university for that sort of collaborations. We'll continue working very, very closely with them. And with regard to reaching the unreached, also as an organization, we have established mechanisms whereby the existing operators contribute into a kitty so that operators can reach areas which are not economically viable, so that all of us can be inclusive in Kenya. So that is happening. And with regard to the issue about the women, I would want to also tell the first panelist who spoke that all along in my career, my first boss was a woman, Engineer Migwala, and after that there was yet another one, and yet another one. So I have appreciated women as capable in engineering, because I have been not really under the skirt, but under women for quite some time, and they have really brought me up to where I am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Tom Olwero, a director from Communications Authority of Kenya. And I want to open out the discussion to the audience now for comments and questions. I can see that the audience online is also asking questions and making comments. We have a very large audience currently active online, including potential students, Dr. Olero. Some are asking, will there be software engineering? The answer is yes, it's been there already, right? Yes, software engineering is there. Do you have a plan to spread the courses via online classes? Yes, yes, of course. So, audience, let me hear some comments and some questions, please, to our good panel. Yes, Dr. Orero.
Thank you very much, Ian. I just wanted to follow up on the issue of gender. In the school, and at least in the Faculty of IT, what we have seen in the past, like 3 years, the top students have always been girls. Could there be a danger that, how do we encourage also our sons and brothers to also keep up with, because there is a trend of, sorry to give the example of even the Strathmore school boys, when they come, or from any other school, when they come they have good grades and so on, but then some of them, on the way, they don't shine as it is supposed to be. Is it that we are putting too much kind of lineage onto that, or how do we sort out that such that then the boys can also move forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have another comment and question before we come to the panelists, please? Okay. So as we wait for the next comment or question, would you like to take that, Kendi or Catherine? We have a comment coming in. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Albert Mugo. I've been working in the energy sector for some time. Just a comment about university and industry collaboration. I think you often hear the word half-baked engineers or things like those. And my worry is that yes, universities train, industries have requirements, and sometimes there's a division because it's not clear what is being done. When I was at the university and Professor Muthiada was teaching us, maybe because the numbers were small, the universities were able to go to industry and even identify and discuss with industries concerning the attachment for students. Today, it's just to tick a box that a student has been attached, but what they cover there and what they do, there seems to be a disconnect. So my comment would be that universities definitely need to engage a lot more with industry, discuss even practical issues that the industry face and how the students can also be part of providing some solutions in industry so that we stop hearing about that half-baked. It's not the fault of students. I think it's really the universities as well as the industries themselves, which I believe should take interest in what is being done, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who benefit if you get good graduates from the engineering faculties. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have two comments. So the first one from Dr. Orero is the gender imbalance in favor of the girls. Yes, Catherine.
Okay, first of all, let me comment on what my former managing director has just spoken about, Engineer Mugo. I would like to state that the Engineers Board of Kenya registers a professional engineer after 24 months of practice. If I was Strathmore School of Computing and I would like to partner early, that the students that come from here have their eye on that 24 months of professional practice as they work towards their professional registration. When we were students, nobody told us that. Once you graduate and you start working, the day you go to register is the day they tell you you need 24 months, 2 years, having worked as a professional engineer. It is at that point that you start making sure that you have done. So it would be imperative, further to what he has said about attachments, that there's a plan for graduating somebody. And in the past, we used to have this training that used to provide the apprentice side of the skilling side of the training. Right now, the training is mostly the theoretical in class, and if you're lucky and you have such beautiful labs, you have exposure to the practical. Coming back to the issue, I don't have an answer to what Dr. said, but I just want to comment. One of the hardest courses in engineering certification is what you call the Certified Energy Manager. And statistically, across the world, women pass more than men in that class. This is because women are always afraid of failing. We don't want to fail. Myself, CEM, and I really worked hard because I didn't want to fail. We are more motivated by, but the men, you know, they're brave, they're used to, you know, you try and get a girl for a wife, you don't get her, you're used to, it's not a big deal. However, when you go now to industry, the girls don't have the skill to stand up to the factors around success in industry. But the men now have that skill. So I wasn't offering an answer. I was just creating a debate that some of the factors affecting is that girls are so scared and they want to do their best, but men are a little bit more brave and they care less, and that is one of the factors affecting.
Okay.
I don't know if I've helped that.
Yes, Prof.
For the benefit of those listening and people here, there's something very strange in Strathmore that we are nearly 20 years old, and we don't have in our strategy, in our values. My very close colleague Elizabeth, and she advises me every minute. We don't have the gender equality. People wonder, what kind of organization is this? And it's a university that subscribes to Christian values. Why is it not talking about gender equality, making noise about it, and making it suppressing it? We don't. Whether it is employment or student admission, I said we don't include it. Why? Because it's a way of life in Strathmore. We want everyone to live it rather than preach it to us. So that is our part of our DNA. So it's very difficult to, you will never find us write it anywhere. We react more if there's somebody who needs to be educated on how to live. Yeah. So that's the way it is in Strathmore. And that's why, for example, actuarial science in Kenya and in the world is a small profession. And it's highly mathematical. So it's expected that men will outdo women. Now in Strathmore, it's the women that outdo everybody. Because of that, we live it, our students, our staff. So I wanted you to know this so that as you talk, you help us to live it more. You try to find out how exactly are we living it without prescribing it. See, good things are never prescribed. Things that are fundamental should not be prescribed. You want, so if you're a good university, you make sure that people who enter just they get to know, otherwise they. Elizabeth, I hope
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Clearly, we have our work cut out for us, and thank you very much for that, Prof. I'm looking at. Yes, Kendi.
It's just a comment following the two comments that have been given. Because this question always comes when we're talking about encouraging women to do STEM. And so I like to issue a disclaimer before I comment. I am a mother of 3, 2 are boys. So it is of my personal benefit that even the boys excel, even as I'm pushing the girl to excel in whichever way. But that said, like she alluded earlier, what we ask for is actually giving women the opportunity, which has not been traditionally the case. And so now if we give everyone almost a level playing field, then we're not saying put down the man and raise up the woman. We're just giving the same sort of opportunity and saying, do your best, then you will, whoever, any of you will excel and take the opportunity. That said, let's not panic. We still have over 100 years before we achieve that equality of men and women, especially in the fields of STEM. So that means we need to continue pumping and asking women and telling them, you make about 50% or so of the population. Don't be left behind in having your voice heard in development or in matters life. If I comment briefly in terms of industry, what I would want to challenge the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences, as you take in the students and as you go out and try and find out what needs to be done, collaborate, and you already do that. Strathmore, you're very good at collaborating with industry. Come check with organizations like ours, like Microsoft, where we have now a research center for Kenya that has been set up. We have the African Development Center, which by end of this year will have over 200 engineers. And when we say 200 engineers, they are not only developing the applications that we use as Kenya. They are developing applications or programs or platforms that are used and resold for Microsoft globally. Meaning, as the school, what you start here has the potential to change the world. But how then do you change the world? Is if you engage with us, and we have programs, I know you know because we engage already, where we look at your curriculum, we give you experts from even other computing schools around the world that we work with, and we sort of strengthen that for the content to be relevant for not only Kenya, but for the world. Then the same engineers that you graduate will come out so ready for us to take in, because while we are 200 this year, in 3 years' time, we'll have 500 engineers. Where will they come from? Now, when we go to the market, we look right now, and we actually have skills. We have like 3-month training programs that accelerate them, because we realize the curriculum in Kenya is still behind. And we quickly have to accelerate those who at least who have the aptitude, then to take it up. So it's just a challenge for you. Continue engaging industry, continue working with us. We invest. I just spoke about Microsoft. I know the other organizations as well do. Oracle is here, a former employer of mine. I know they do the same. IBM as well does the same. That's if you come to the computing side. If you look at the other fields of engineering, I'm sure the Kenjans and all of that will also give you the same sort of intelligence.
Thank you so much. Sadly, we are running out of time, and we are just getting heated up. Actually, online things are quite heated up. And we have many questions and discussions going on there. We shall continue this conversation, obviously. This is an amazing and interesting topic. And luckily, we have the technology to continue beyond our schedule here. I really want to give Dr. Daniel the chance to give some closing remarks, especially to tell us, what does the future hold? What does the future hold? But just before that, allow me to quickly read some questions from the online audience. Do you have, what is the average salary of an engineer? Engineer Meta, are engineers well enumerated?
I think, I believe today the starting salaries range from 70,000 upwards. And then after 2 years, it goes down.
Okay, so you're saying they are well remunerated. Thank you. How will you ensure students have a good science background to apply themselves in engineering? I think this is for Dr. Orero. We have seen those amazing labs there for basic science. No question at all. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Daniel.
Okay, thank you. What the future holds. The future holds more women in STEM. Now, Dr. Arrero's comment was very peculiar to me because there are more men up here for this panel than women. So why are we worried about women excelling right now? In fact, I follow a woman. My sister's a physicist, and she started doing engineering before me, and I said, I want to be like my big sister. And I followed her and I excelled. One of my mentors, his name is Juan Gilbert. He works at University of Florida. Over the past 12, 13 years, he has produced more African American PhDs than any other person in the United States of America, and about 50% of them are women. In his research lab, it's mainly women. And you know, he has 2 sons. He's not really worried about that. He's always mentoring women because he wants to see women do better. And in the United States, black women as a group are the most educated people in the country. So I say just support women because it's really not equal in the tech fields. Now what's coming is what all the speakers before me and what everybody before the panel has spoken to is closer collaboration with industry, the 4th Industrial Revolution, and creating students that have exceptional critical thinking skills and are good at innovation and who are always improving and optimizing. So that's what's coming, and that's what we're doing with Dr. Butime, with Dr. De Silva, with Dr. Asaya, and Dr. Arrero, and what Strathmore is doing. We're preparing for the future. We are making the future. So thank you for listening to our panel discussion.
Wow. On that note, I would like all of us to give a good applause to our panelists. Thank you very much. Our panelists, Dr. Solomon Daniel from Strathmore University Zai Lab, Engineer Tom Olwero, Director Frequency Spectrum Management from the Communications Authority of Kenya, Ms. Kendi Ntigwa Nderito, Country Manager of Microsoft, Mr. David Bunei, Managing Director, Oracle Kenya, Mr. John Muthiada, Principal, Strathmore School, and Ms. Catherine Nyambala, Chief Engineer, Quality, Kengen. Last but not least, Engineer Naresh Mehta, Managing Director of Prisma Techniques. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as our panelists go back to their seats, we are coming towards the end. We are going to have a vote of thanks. After the vote of thanks, we shall all converge outside the auditorium for a group photograph. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite for the vote of thanks Professor Ismail Atea, the Director of the Office of Faculty Affairs of Strathmore University.
The Principal Secretary, State of Department of Energy, Dr. Engineer Joseph Njoroge, who has since left, members of the Strathmore University Council, members of the Strathmore Management Board, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Some function like this one, a lot of effort has gone into it, and though I might not have the chance to thank everyone, I have to at least pick people to thank. So first, to our guest of honor who has since left, we have to thank him very much for availing himself to grace this occasion. To our industry partners who have been here, thanks very much for having spared your time to attend this function, and we look all the comments you gave us, ideas are very, very helpful for us to improve this school. To the University Council members present, thank you very much for your ever-present support in the development of Strathmore University, and particularly throughout the process of preparing for this particular launch. The management board members present here, thank you very much for your consistent guidance throughout the process of forming and setting up the school. The deans of the schools are present here. Thank you very much for the many suggestions, ideas of making a viable strategic plan for our school. To the advisory board of the school, thank you very much for your deep insights, ideas, and on how a global school of computing and engineering should look like. To the School of Engineering, School of Computing and Engineering Committee, thank you very much for your tireless efforts to keep working amidst the pandemic and pandemic distractions. We know there were a lot of things, but you worked diligently to be able to ensure we have this day successful. To the administration team, thank you very much for your support in having the facilities ready, which made this day successful. The cafeteria team and housekeeping team, you took care of us. Thank you very much for that. And then lastly, but not least, for everyone else, thank you very much for being here with us on this auspicious occasion. Thank you very much and have a good morning.
And a big clap for Professor Tea. Professor Tea has been the chairman of the steering committee that has been organizing for creating all the final processes towards opening the doors and including the launch of the School of Computing and Engineering Sciences. And he's my boss currently. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We are going to have our group photo out there, and I'm told there is a reward. We are going to all witness the ceremonial cake cutting. I hope there is also ceremonial cake eating. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.